Hello? Hello?
Podcast Network Asia.
Ano, nakapanood na ba ang lahat? Anyong mga K-drama pamangkin, it's Tuesday again. So nagbabalik po muli ang inyong tita with another K-drama review. And this is the K-drama I have been intently documenting over on TikTok. Yes, that's right. TikTok. So if you follow me on TikTok, which is again at Anyong Tita, you would notice na nalulong na po ako sa TikTok. My social media behavior actually is a bit erratic. Sometimes daily ako mag-post, then at times super tahimik. I don't know if it's the tita in me, but most of the times I just watch videos. Yeah, I don't really have the habit of posting every day. Like, how do you even do that? I see people posting every day and multiple times a day pa. Don't you guys run out of things to do? Or I mean to post? Anyway, going back to what I was saying. So over on TikTok, I have been documenting my reaction on this K-drama that started to be really interesting, then stressful, then interesting, then stressful. And that K-drama is Big Mouth. Big Mouth tells the story of an underperforming lawyer who gets caught up in a murder case. In order to survive and protect his family, he digs into a huge conspiracy among the privileged upper classes. Now, that, of course, is not even half of the whole story, which is actually the main reason why I got hooked in the first place. Because it started to be really interesting, so many mysteries, and minsan, you like a K-drama na though stressful, it gets your attention by making you think. And from time to time, gusto din natin ng medyo nag-iisip naman tayo ng konti while watching a K-drama. Now, the series stars Lee Jong-suk, who is fresh from his military enlistment. This is actually his first ever K-drama after getting discharged last year. And it also stars Im Yuna and Kim Jo-hoon. It's a total of 16 episodes and aired from July 29 to September 17, 2022, and is available over on Disney Plus. I don't know if you would have it. I don't think sa Southeast Asia may Disney Plus. So, good luck. Kung saan natin papanoorin or kung saan nyo papanoorin yan. Anyway, so that's the boring details about the K-drama, which I don't know why I still include in this episode, but I don't even know if you are interested at all with that part of my speech. Anyway, now let's get right into my top thoughts about this K-drama, Big Mouth. Now, if this K-drama is a person, our label would be, it's complicated. Complicated talaga, ma'am. Hindi ko kaya. It was a love-hate relationship. And I guess that for most of it, it's my fault. Sige, aminin ko, fault ko na din yun because I guess I gave the writer and director too much credit. Ang taas siguro ng sinet kong expectation. Kaya ganun. Anyway, I will explain that further. But like most of you, I got hooked with the K-drama because it really does have a very interesting premise. So imagine mo the bida started out to be this lousy lawyer. Sobrang lousy niya na he even is called as Big Mouth because puro lang siya kuda. Like, it's just big talk, but there's really nothing. He never won a case. Then one night, he got framed for a crime he never committed and then got mistaken to be this genius conman known as Big Mouse. So from Big Mouth, naging Big Mouth siya overnight. So on top of finding out who framed the main lead, yung si Bida, si Lee Jong-suk, yung character niya. So on top of finding out who framed him, you also have the mystery about the real main crime that was committed in the story and actually how he got involved in this upper class people. And then on top of that, is the real identity of the con man, Big Mouse, diba? So why was he framed as Big Mouse, and what's his connection with him, diba? And who is he? So ang daming mysteries that will really keep you going. So napaka-interesting niya. So syempre, every day that I watch episodes of Big Mouth, iba-iba din yung theories ko. So kung sino ba ang totoong Big Mouse. I started with the father-in-law. Kasi sabi ko nga, paano nalagay yung yung gold bar sa likod ng cement wall? So iniisip ko na 'di ba na parang di kaya dahil yun sa father-in-law. Kasi 'di ba, paano siya nakalagay dun sa cement wall? So posibleng nandun na talaga siya bago pa man sila lumipat sa office na yun. And being the, office manager, the secretary, so I thought I thought na yung father-in-law would have the access to it. And also because he's not the obvious one. Diba? That was my first mistake. I was thinking na the Big Mouse would be someone na hindi ganun ka-obvious. Na hindi siya yung talagang pinaghihinalaan natin dito. Because there is the character Jerry, di ba? Sa mga nakapanood na nitong K-drama na ito. So there's the character Jerry, di ba? I was also thinking it was him. But I was doubting myself kasi sabi ko napaka-obvious naman kung siya talaga yung, 'di ba? Siya yung Big Mouse kasi napaka-obvious Jerry tapos parang good boy tapos hindi tinanggap ng utak ko yon. So sabi ko hindi naman siguro ganito ka tamad yung writer na mag-isip. So sabi ko hindi. Okay? So I was thinking so hard. And yung father-in-law, day one pa lang yon. Day one pa lang yun ng panonood ko pero super invested na talaga ako with the story na naisip ko pa yung mga cement wall na yon. So, di ba? Kung ano-ano yung theories na naisip ko. And, well, you can watch that on my TikTok anyway. Bottom line is, this K-drama got me thinking. And I think that is because of this thinking that I set myself up for disappointment when it was finally revealed who is the real Big Mouse. Let me explain again, okay? And this time, let me also point out that the people behind this K-drama, okay, is now partly at fault. This is a case of the people writing this K-drama or the people behind this K-drama not planning the flow of the story well. It's as if na hindi nila alam na it's 16 episode. Kasi it started out really good. Okay? Aminin natin yan. It started out really good. Ang ganda niya, nakaka-hook siya. Talagang there were days that I was actually watching 4, 5 episodes in a day dahil hindi ko mabitawan. Ganun ako na hook on this K-drama. Okay? The pacing was okay. Hindi rin naman siya ganun kabagal. Very interesting every moment of it. Walang masyadong boring na moments na parang 'di ba yung magse-cellphone ka na lang kaysa manood ka. Walang ganun. Every moment was interesting for me until yun na nga po. Dumating tayo sa episode 15 and 16. So, for me it felt like imagine mo yung sarili mo, you're coasting along a calm and scenic river, tapos it ends pala in a waterfall. Parang ganun. That's how I felt about Big Mouth. The ending for me was a disappointment for several reasons. Again, mainly because I guess, yun nga, sinet up ko na rin ng sarili ko for disappointment because I gave the writers too much credit. Okay? And aminado naman ako doon. Okay? Aminado ako na kasalanan ko din naman to kasi masyado kong binigyan ng credit yung writers. Iniisip ko na yung writers hindi tatama rin. Pero tinamad. In a way, medyo tinamad. Okay? Now, before I continue explaining, again, this is the part that you may want to stop listening to this podcast episode if you have not watched the K-drama yet. Because again, magpapaulan po ako ng disappointment. Magpapaulan po ako ng spoilers. And yes, partly disappointments na rin. So don't say na hindi kita winarn, okay? Don't say I didn't warn you. Now, let me get to my specific reasons, okay? But before we do that, let me also say that this K-drama made more sense by the end of it, actually. A lot of the things na kini-question ko, like when I was watching the K-drama at first, like the first half of it, ang dami kong tanong, like, why are they giving so much screen time dito sa psychopath? Which, yes, cute. Actually, may part ng sarili ko na hindi ko nagigets kung bakit ako, pinost ko to sa TikTok while I was watching the um, first half of the K-drama. There was something in me na hindi ko maintindihan. And I was actually, I verbalized that with a post on TikTok. Sabi ko talaga, why is it that I have this certain feeling for this psychopath? Love, hindi love. Pero parang hindi ko maintindihan kung bakit may disconnect yung character niya sa sinabing background niya. So remember, he was introduced as this life sentence, ano ba tawag sa mga taong yun? Hindi ko maalala kung ano yung tawag sa kanila, pero they were the people that are given a life sentence. So they're basically forever in jail, okay? So they have been categorized. So he was actually introduced to the story as that person who was supposedly a person who killed 7 women, okay? 7 women, and he looks like a psychopath. So there was never a question about his character. But the first thing that I really wanted to know at the first half of the series is why is he getting so much screen time? Okay? He is getting a lot of screen time compared to the other supporting characters. So for me, it felt like, teka lang, is there more to this story? Pero every time on the first few episode, every time that he is being given emphasis on the story, it's always more like a case to emphasize that he's just a psychopath. However, when we got to the point na nandun na yung character ni Yuna, 'di ba? Yung character ni Yuna nung dumating na siya as a nurse doon sa prison, and he showed some kind of care. He protected her during the attack, 'di ba? Nung nagkaroon ng riot. That's when it clicked on me na no, there is something about this guy, okay? And that's actually when I really felt na there is something soft about this guy, that this is actually not, it does not make sense to me. Yun. It does not make sense to me that your supposed background is that you killed 7 women, but here you are protecting a woman. And he even cried at the mention of his mom. So it didn't make sense. Diba? Ang disconnected siya. Tapos ang dami niyang screen time. So iniisip ko talaga, ano siya, binibuild up to be the next Opa? Kasi pipila ako. Sabi ko nga, pipila talaga ako. Ngayon pa lang, pumipila na ako. Pero hindi eh. Towards the end, it actually explains it a lot. And it's one of my disappointment about this K-drama, because as someone who's very invested in the story, alam nyo yan, invested talaga ako in every K-drama. Pero as someone who's very invested in the K-drama, and you giving us so much hints about this psychopath, and then the story arc was left hanging. Like, okay, hindi pala talaga siya yung pumatay, which now makes sense kung bakit may soft side siya na hindi ko maisip na someone who is called as a psychopath and killed 7 women would ever have, diba? So, hindi talaga siya ewan ko, nanggigil ako sa writer. Bakit nyo binigyan kami ng napakaraming screen time with this guy? You set us up to love this guy, to have this conflict in our heads about this guy, only to end up in a very disappointing story arc. Diba? Na parang, okay, so hindi pala siya yung pumatay, and now we're just, magtitiis na lang tayo kasi 16 episodes na lang eh. Diba? Wala lang, isa yun sa mga gigil ko. Anyway, another thing that made sense finally towards the end of the story is the villain, okay? So when we started with the story, the main villain is Gong Ji-hon, yung character ni Yang Kyun-won. If you remember, he's the guy, he's the yung medyo suplado sa Crash Landing on You na North Korean soldier, di ba? So he plays Gong Ji-hon here, who is the like a CEO or president ng isang news daily magazine or newspaper, something like that. Basta isa siya sa mga upper class. So siya, at the start, siya yung pinaka-head nilang mga rich kids, kumbaga. Now, towards like the first few episode, it already did not make sense to me. Like, bakit siya yung main villain, 'di ba? Kasi si Mayor Choi Do-ha dito, it started out na hindi siya yung villain, di ba? Siya yung parang good guy. He's just trying to get away from all this, um, rich kids na mababa yung tingin sa kanya. So he's just trying to get away from them. However, it didn't make sense to me na si Gong Ji-hon was the villain. Like, even at the first few episode, I felt that it was a mistake. For me, it felt na Gong Ji-hon's character should be with Kim Jo-hon. Kumbaga nagpalitan dapat sila. It felt na that way. But it finally made sense towards the end of the story because, we all know who was the real villain, right? So, yun, medyo okay. So, medyo good job yung mga writers with that because it finally made sense kung bakit si Gong Ji-hon yung character, I mean yung hindi siya yung pinaka-villain because hindi naman talaga siya. And bakit din si Yang Kyung-won, who doesn't really look very villain, 'di ba? Hindi naman siya mukhang villain eh. Suplado, but not the villain type. Kung bakit siya yung nilagay doon kasi hindi naman pala talaga siya yung pinaka-evil. Ang pinaka-evil pala dito is we all know who, 'di ba? Di ko pa sinabi. Di ko pa sinabi. Binitin ko pa kayo. Anyway, so yun, medyo good job siya doon. Okay? It also made sense to me kung bakit namatay yung character ni Yuna, si Miho. Okay? It also made sense to me because, di ba, towards the end of the story, tinanggap na ni Park Chang-ho na siya talaga now si Big Mouse. Tinanggap niya na yung role na yon. Siya na yung bagong Big Mouse, siya na yung bagong leader ng grupo nila. And it made sense na mamatay si Miho only because, and I'm so sorry, hindi ko sinasabing dapat namatay kasi nga, it made sense to me because if you are Big Mouse, di ba, you are expected to be looking over this group of people and you're expected to, parang wala ka masyadong konsensya because your group is supposedly to fight evil with evil. Okay? And having Miho by his side would only, yung parang siya, para siyang magiging, hindi ko naman sinasabing pabigat, pero para siyang konsensya na would hinder him from actually doing what is expected of Big Mouse for his new role. So it made sense na pinatay si Miho towards the end. I'm so sorry. I know we didn't even get a kissing scene, which again, direct. Another disappointment. Okay? 16 episodes. 16 episodes! My God. Pero, yun nga, it made sense to me. Kasi, yun nga, with your role as Big Mouse, Park Chang-ho is actually expected to be fighting evil with evil. And Miho is too good to be accepting kung ano man yung mga evil ways na may isip ni Park Chang-ho, which I expect he would be doing a lot because yun nga, Big Mouse is evil as well in a way, right? It's just a lesser evil. So that made sense to me. Now, this is actually the part where I'm gonna explain to you kung bakit talaga ako na-disappoint sa ending when I finally found out who the real Big Mouse is. Because eto, direct, kasalanan mo to. Kasi naman, direct, kung i-expose mo kung sino si Big Mouse, you should have at least thought of a different way on how to finally introduce him. Okay? And introducing him the same way as what we thought was the introduction when Warden, sino nga ba yung, si Warden Park? Nakalimutan ko sino yun. Yeah, si Warden Park. Diba? When he attempted to pretend to be Big Mouse, hindi ko talaga gets kung bakit direct ganun. Parang yung pagkaka-introduce mo. Diba? Yung parang, when Warden Park pretended to be Big Mouth, diba? The scene was, Park Chang-ho was alone. Park Chang-ho was alone and he was waiting for Big Mouse. Tapos cut into him to Warden Park arriving, and then diba parang nag-end ata yung episode with that, and then only up on the next episode did we find out that it's actually not him. Tapos yung final moment of finally introducing Big Mouse was also the same way. Park Chang-ho alone in an area with just the supposed Big Mouse, which turns out to be Erap. Tinawag ko talaga siya si Erap. Kasi so start pa lang, para sabi ko, ano nga bang name niya? And anyway, tatawagin ko na lang siyang Erap. And if you notice, if you watch my TikTok videos, I already kind of had the hint na siya si Big Mouse. Kasi may something, there was a scene nung nasaksak siya that finally felt that, this guy knows more than he pretends to know. So, parang ganon yung feeling ko. So, it kind of gave me an idea that Erap is actually invested or somewhat related, or anyway, something involved in the Big Mouse thing. And it's just a disappointment because it could have been a different way of introducing us to Big Mouse, to finally introducing us. Maybe I was actually expecting him to, I was actually expecting Park Chang-ho to finally discover it by finding out an old picture, or let's say a document or something like that. But the same way as with Warden Park, alone in an area with just the two of them. I when I was actually watching that episode or that scene, I still felt that this is not it. Okay, he's not Big Mouse, is again pretending to be Big Mouse, because it felt like that. The treatment of the scene was the same. So I really felt that I was just watching another person pretending to be Big Mouse. So it's so disappointing. And also, okay, this is something that I definitely remember when I was actually in school, in college, when we were talking about color grading and things like that. My professor back then reminded us that if you are going to use, let's say, sepia or black and white in this case, if you're going to use that to tell a story, a part of the story, let's say, most of the time we use sepia or we use black and white when we are talking about the past, right? And when you would use very saturated colors, you would use that for, let's say, imagination, or usually imagination or a future something. So when you're using black and white or whatever color you choose, okay, let's just say you want everything in blue, okay, you have to stick to a certain timeline. If you're going to use a color, let's say black and white, you have to think, are we going to use this for telling the stories that were from the past? In this K-drama, it's been used everywhere. It tells the story about the past, it's the present, and it also has the future. I got confused. Honestly, I got confused with how it... I was actually not sure if I'm looking at a scene from the past. I love the black and white when it was used with the flames. The flame was the only thing that has color in it. I love the artistic touch on that. But then when it was used as well for like everything else, almost everything, like towards the last few minutes of episode 16, everything is in black and white, which didn't make sense. Like, okay. And then it was also used for the past. I think there was something on the first few episodes. it was used for something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it didn't make sense. Why? It just felt na yung cinematographer was just enjoying it. Was enjoying all the black and white things. Thought it would be bringing out the masculine type of, you know, treatment to the scene, but to me, it was just confusing. Am I looking at the future? Am I looking at the present? Is this something from the past? Yun. So yun, that was a disappointment for me. But the greatest disappointment was just the treatment on how they introduced Big Mouse finally. Like, it could have been done so many different ways, pero bakit? The same way as with the introduction of supposed Big Mouth with Warden Park, di ba? Parang, ay, nanggigigil ako sa director. So talagang towards the end of the story, I was thinking there's probably something more. I was kind of expecting more. And again, that's because probably, again, I gave too much credit to the writer. Okay? Because everything that was obvious at that point didn't turned out to be Big Mouse. Like, I was expecting either si Mayor Doha or si Jerry yung totoong Big Mouse. And I was hoping hindi. Kasi I was expecting that the writers would have thought of something different. Okay? And it was a good thing that they didn't turn out to be the Big Mouse, the real Big Mouse. But I was thinking it was something na someone na hindi obvious. Like, yung best friend, pinag-isipan ko, or si Miho, di ba? Something to surprise us. Something that would make us, remember this K-drama because of all the surprises that we got. Pero, nung si Erap din lang pala, parang sabi ko, naku, day 2 pa lang ng panunod ko, alam ko na si Erap eh. Pero parang ayokong isipin kasi, di ba, nung si Warden Park yung lumabas nung first time, sabi ko, baka si Big Mouse i-reveal in some very grand way. Pero, wale. And again, that's my fault. That's my fault. Aminado naman ako dun. Okay. And, alright, one last thing about the ending. Okay, now I know that some writers, and I have seen some writers do this, some writers, just to make up for the time that they, snooze off with the writing of creating a bigger or a better story, just so we viewers would be able to remember a K-drama, some writers tend to kill main leads, either the pinakabidang lalaki or the pinakabidang babae. Now, buti na lang kamo, okay? Buti na lang kamo tinanggap ni Park Chang-ho yung role niya na si Big Mouse. Kasi kung hindi niya yung tinanggap, I would definitely be crucifying. I would definitely be crucifying the writers because that is actually a very, very lazy way of writing a story, or just it, kasi parang ano lang siya eh, parang tinamad ka na lang with the last 2 episodes, and just so that the people will forever remember you, let's kill off one of the main leads so we will be forever be on their mind. Something na, every time na may mame-mention na K-dramas that made us cry, or K-dramas na nakakaiyak yung ending, or ganun-ganun, we will always be there. People would always remember it. Because we all know that we tend to remember most those K-dramas that didn't really end well or didn't end happily. Like for me, Memories of Bali. How long has it been since I've watched Memories of Bali? And because of the ending being so dramatic or so drastic, it stuck with me as one of those K-dramas na tapaka walang ya ng ending. And yun yung one way to make people remember you. But the other way is to just really create a great, good story. People, don't stop killing main leads for us to remember you. Create a good story. Stop killing main leads. Buti na lang kamo talaga. Yun nga, tinanggap ni Park Chang-ho yung role niya as Big Mouth, or Big Mouse, sorry. Because if he didn't, then yeah, it does not make sense to kill Miho. Okay? It does not make sense. Anyway, that is just my emotion. I am so sorry. Like I said, well, if this is your first time listening to this podcast, I am very invested with all my K dramas. Talagang ninanamnam ko. I really think that I am the main lead. So, talagang importante sa akin yung mga details. Maybe not as important with, with the whole story, pero napakaano ko eh. Maarte ako sa mga ganyan eh. Kasi pag hindi talaga nag-make sense sa akin, talagang nanggigigil lang ako. And I am so sorry. But of course, again, if you have a different opinion about this K drama, if you like this K drama, that's good. I'm not forcing you to also have the same opinion as me. Kanya-kanya tayong opinion, okay? Everyone has their own cup of tea. Anyone can share their opinion. And again, I would love to know about yours. If you want to share your opinion about the K drama, if you've also seen Big Mouse, you can always reach me on any of my social media accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Ano pa ba? That's it. That's it lang pala. It's all at Anyong Tita. Now, to wrap this up, if I am going to grade Big Mouse on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, sadly, I will give this a 7.7. Okay? Buti na lang nga kamo, 7 pa siya. Kasi kung di talaga tinanggap ni Park Chang-ho yung role niya as Big Mouse, bibigyan ko siya ng 5. Kasi there was no point of killing Miho, right? There was no point of killing Miho if he did not accept the role of Big Mouse. Buti na lang kamo. Okay. Anyway, that is again my emotions. All right. Thank you so much for listening. And again, if you have any opinion, if you have also violent reactions, if you have the same strong emotions as me, feel free to tag me on any of my social media accounts, which again is at Anyong Tita. All right? Until the next Tuesday, good night, kids. Love you, Bruno Mars. Kamsahamnida! Thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars. And if you want to be updated, make sure to follow the podcast, hit the notification bell, and also follow me at Anyong Tita on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram so you won't miss out on anything. And catch our weekly deep dive K-drama conversations every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or other podcast streaming platforms here at your favorite K-drama show with your favorite K-drama tita. Anyong Tita!